If you need the most technologically advanced, laser-sighted, acoustically engineered king of a vacuum that's both intelligent and stylish, look no further than the Dyson Outsize Absolute Vacuum, which can be yours for only $1,400. You may need to pay for this sexy beast in installments, but just think of how jealous all your friends are gonna be looking at your sparkly clean floors. Dyson is perhaps the most coveted vacuum brand available in this modern era, but how much of this techno hype translates into clean floors? Needless to say, we have come a long way since those first horse-drawn vacuum cleaners, am I right? And yes, you heard me right. Back in the early 1900s, British engineer Hubert Cecil Booth would drive his red and gold carriage to wealthy houses and suck out dirt through tubes in the windows while rich ladies hosted vacuum tea parties and the locals gathered around to marvel at the dirt collected like some sort of circus performance. I kid you not, this was a real thing. Now yes, a lot has changed since vacuums have become a regular household appliance that basically everybody owns, but they also haven't changed that much. Hoover is perhaps the first and most iconic name in the world of suction, but companies like Electrolux, Kirby, and Eureka were among the early brands that formed the technological and aesthetic elements of vacuums today, including Dyson. The basic idea behind all these vacuum cleaners is the same. Use a fan to suck air in one end and then push it out the other, trapping dirt along the way. It's just kind of like a human and poop. And the filter in the middle is our intestines, I guess? I don't know if that metaphor really holds water. Back in the day, it was universally the case that all this dirt would be collected by a bag. With these vacuums, as the bag fills up, it impedes airflow and reduces suction, significantly reducing the function before it's even full. This just rattled James Dyson to his core. Wrought for weeks over his Hoover he was less than satisfied with, in 1978 he came up with a dream. Deep-seated dream that he knew he would never be able to let go of. He wanted to create a bagless vacuum that wouldn't lose suction. As a part of his research, Dyson would visit a local sawmill in the cover of darkness to observe this 30-foot conical centrifuge that would spin dust out of the air, and he wanted to figure out a way to miniaturize this. This kind of cyclone technology, whether in a mill or a vacuum cleaner, uses a fan to suck air in at just the right angle so that it spins wildly inside like a cone, forcing all the dust, sawdust, and what have you to be glued to the wall and then eventually fall down while the lighter air floats up to the top grime-free. Basically, it takes all of the dirt on a wild spinning teacup ride that you had at the fair, forcing it to cling to the walls under the weight of all those extra G's while the clean air floats out unhampered. But in the spinning teacup ride, everyone's puking, and it's the puke that's flying everywhere. Once again, a metaphor with bodily functions that probably doesn't do super well here. The idea behind this technology in a vacuum context is that by the time the air actually exits the device, it's already dirt-free. You're not trying to force the air through a clogged up vacuum bag. Dyson would call it the first major change in vacuum cleaner technology since 1901, which, given that 1901 vacuum cleaners were horse-drawn, sort of discredits that claim a little bit, but he's not entirely making that up. It took him 5,127 prototypes, but Dyson really did create something unlike anything else on the market. A bagless vacuum that retained suction longer than what was available at the time. Dyson's invention was largely about improving suction, and making it bagless was just a means to an end. But eventually, Dyson came to realize that the bagless design itself was the true selling point. And that was what was marketed as a more eco-friendly, cost-effective, and convenient alternative to having to run to the store midway through your cleaning day to spend more money than you'd like to on a bag that you're just gonna have thrown in the landfill one day. The dust bag industry has long been worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Vacuum companies make big bucks by keeping their customers dependent on constant bag replacements, encouraging customers to stay on brand and sometimes voiding the warranty should you try another unauthorized bag company. There's big money in these refills, and the vacuum industry had no interest in compromising that. So when Dyson came knocking on Hoover's door to pitch this creation, he received a pretty resounding no. But Dyson kept trying, and eventually a Japanese company licensed his design in 1993, and they used that income to set up their own factory and research facilities in the UK. Now, once the word got out about this bagless vacuum, man, wow, people started flocking. Dyson became the top-selling vacuum manufacturer in the UK and then eventually in the US. In the years since then, Dyson has become one of the richest men in his country and has even bagged himself a knighthood in the wake of his massive success. So it really should be Sir James Dyson, I suppose. But that seems a little long for this video. Now, I can't speak personally from how well this thing cleaned floors, but it seems to have cleaned up the competition pretty thoroughly. Dyson early on started building a reputation as a company that cared about quality and functionality and wasn't afraid to rethink what a vacuum could be. It took some time for companies to catch up with this new design, and Dyson enjoyed a pretty comfy period where they were basically just the best of the best. Dyson has carefully maintained a solid reputation to this day, and they proudly flaunt the fact that they have been recently rated here in Canada as the most trusted appliance brand in the country. They're undeniably one of the most, if not the most, recognizable vacuum brand out there, but this maybe is a little overrated. If you spend any time amongst the vacuum forums on the interwebs like I do, you may notice something interesting. Despite Dyson's widespread popularity with the masses, a lot of hardcore vacuum enthusiasts absolutely despise the brand.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
And we have to say that there are a few good reasons for it. There is no denying the vacuum remains a better vacuum than your average $100 Walmart alternative. But Dysons are commonly sold for $600+ per product. Now, while they were previously manufactured in the UK in 2002, Dyson decided to move much of its manufacturing to Malaysia, which isn't exactly known for its stellar labor laws, manufacturing standards, or commitment to sustainable production. Just this year, Dyson has faced legal action for disturbing and illegal work conditions involving intimidation and torture. All this is to keep costs down, but this doesn't really translate to a cheaper product for the consumer. So you have a product that is mostly made of plastic and by overworked and underpaid employees in trash conditions, and you are still paying a premium for it. That doesn't sit right on a number of levels and leaves a whole bunch of questions about both the ethics and the quality behind the product. It really seems like at this point, sadly, you are just paying for the brand name. But this isn't 1993 anymore. Dyson isn't the only high-performing bagless vacuum on the market, nor is it the best. As one example, you can now get a similar German-made Miele with twice the warranty and better reviews for a comparable price. Dyson is just so ingrained in our visual, cultural narrative that we don't even consider that there's an alternative. But here's what really gets me. All these new fandangle gadgets, Dyson, Miele, however it's pronounced and whatever, it just seems kind of overkill. Dyson built its name on being the hip, innovative, cool new company that's coming out with the next best thing. And maybe it's just me, but I feel like those old vacuums were kind of sick. I mean, I still use my grandmother's old vacuum from the 70s and it works great still. It was built in an era that hadn't quite fully embraced the plastic everywhere mentality, and the sturdy metal body is probably a big reason why it's lasted so long. Now, yes, it does have a bag, and it is not perfect. But one thing I will say about my grandma's beloved Electrolux is that it's quieter than new vacuums. In fact, modern vacuums are actually deliberately loud to make you think that they're doing more human work. And there is a reason why some of these vintage vacuums have an almost cult-like following. They were built like tanks and they've stood the test of time. If it ain't broke, why go out and buy another one? The funny thing is, in an early TV appearance featuring the new Dyson vacuum, they lead into the segment talking about how vacuums pretty much didn't change in technology for a century. And yet vacuum manufacturers continue to update their aesthetics and gadgetry to try and make the old models obsolete to lure in new customers. Dyson was presented in contrast to this as a company that makes real relevant change, but it really feels like they too have bought into the change for change's sake mentality to secure sales while ignoring a bunch of reliability and true value. There is no reason why a vacuum can't be built to last decades like my grandma's. And yet, Dyson vacuums have a pretty lackluster warranty, and they aren't supposed to work for more than a year or two because, you know, you're supposed to come back and buy another one. Because if you're not buying bags, you have to continue to make money somehow. One of the biggest ways that Dyson gets you to buy more products is through their introduction of tech into these vacuums. Things like a cordless vacuum sound pretty handy right off the top, except that they don't work very well as the battery starts to lose its lifespan. Then within a couple of years, you probably just have to replace it. Yes, we are in the era of smart technology, and we actually have a whole other video about smart home tech if you're interested in that. And Dyson fits into this picture perfectly. If vacuum technology can't really been improved upon, then you can always stick a gadget in there to make it more appealing. A lot of this new tech is supposed to make things more convenient. This desire to complicate what should be a simple product is the theme of the modern day, with almost everything becoming smart and automated. But at some point, we just have to admit that there's a line that probably just doesn't need to be crossed. Is it so hard to press a button on your coffee maker to get it to start? And do you really need to have a light up LED screen to tell you what's going on with your vacuum? I think there's beauty and functionality in simplicity, and we lose something when we get dazzled by the latest tech hype. Sometimes it's nice to just sit back and remember that most of us already have what we need, even if it's not the most stylish and envy-inducing product on the block. I kind of wish that Dyson would focus their innovative engineering energy on creating something timeless and durable and beautiful that could be handed down to our grandchildren, just like my grandma's Electrolux. So let us know what you think of Electrolux down below, and if you are from one of those vacuum subreddits, thank you. Your insight was helpful in this video, and maybe consider following our subreddit, Futureproof. But if you're subscribed to the channel, then we will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Adios.